She thought she would simply help a hungry old man, until a convoy of military trucks drove by and revealed the truth about his identity. The neon sign in front of Benny's diner flickered against the dark highway, casting a faint red glow over the parking lot. It wasn't much, just a rest stop off Interstate 65 in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where the coffee was strong, the cake was homemade, and the floors creaked with every step. It was one of those small restaurants that never caused trouble, hardly changed, but always had a story to tell if you looked closely. Tasha Reynolds, 42, had been part of the place for over a decade. Her uniform, a blue dress with a white apron, had long since become a second skin, as familiar as the hum of the kitchen, the crackle of the deep fryer, and the endless loop of country songs from a jukebox that barely worked. It was nearly midnight and the crowd had thinned. A few truckers nursed coffees at the counter, while old Mr. Dobbs stirred his chili in the corner, just as he'd done every night for the past 5 years. A group of high school kids giggled over a shared milkshake while scrolling through their phones. Then he appeared. She noticed him outside the window near the entrance, silhouetted under a street lamp. His coat hung loosely as if it belonged to another man. The fabric was frayed at the seams, his boots cracked and worn. His hands, rough from years of hard work or perhaps war, trembled slightly as he counted crumpled bills in his palm. She'd seen him before, not often, but enough to remember. He lingered near the door, always hesitating as if gathering courage that never quite arrived. Some nights he turned and left. Others, he stood just long enough to remind the world he still existed. Tonight he knocked. A cold draft swept through the diner, making the ceiling lights flicker. The bell above the door gave a tired jingle. Tasha wiped her hands on her apron and approached. "You comin' in? Or you fixin' to let all the heat out?" she asked, her tone soft but her eyes firm. The man hesitated, then shuffled inside. "I just wanted to look," he rasped, his voice worn thin, as if it had crossed decades. "You can look from the inside," she said, nodding to an empty booth. He glanced, at the truckers at the counter, then back at the door, teetering on the edge of retreat. Tasha didn't give him the chance. She grabbed a menu, brushed past him, and slapped it onto a table by the window. "Sit." He sank onto the bench, joints stiff, shoulders hunched as if bracing for a blow. With care, he opened the menu, his fingers lingering over the cheapest item, soup and half a sandwich. She saw the calculations in his eyes, what he could afford versus what he needed. "Just the soup," he muttered, louder this time. "Potato if you've got it." Tasha didn't move. Instead, she leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "How about the sandwich?" He let out a dry laugh. "Soup's enough." "Quiet night," she sighed. "Kitchen's gotta stay busy, or they'll start nagging me." The lie slipped out effortlessly. Before he could protest, she called to the kitchen. "Hey, Lou. Potato soup and a turkey sandwich. Extra mustard." Lou, a man of few words, shot her a glance but nodded and got to work. The old man, Walter Gaines, she'd later learn, opened and closed his hands on the countertop. "I'll pay you back," he said quietly, almost ashamed. Tasha waved him off. "Don't worry about it." "I mean it," he insisted, watery blue eyes searching hers. She softened. "Just eat while it's hot." That single gesture set in motion something no one could have foreseen. Walter hesitated before touching the spoon. His gnarled fingers hovered over the bowl as if fearing they might shatter the fragile dignity he clung to. Tasha pretended to polish an already spotless glass behind the counter. She recognized that look, the quiet shame of someone unaccustomed to kindness. But this wasn't charity. Meals weren't pity. They were human. Lou slid the sandwich across the counter. "Extra mustard, like you said." Tasha placed it in front of Walter. He glanced up, a flicker of gratitude or something deeper in his gaze. "Shouldn't have done that," he muttered. "Too late," she interrupted, sliding into the booth opposite him. "No sense wasting good food." For a moment he stared as if searching for strings. Finding none, he finally ate. Around them, the diner hummed. Truckers griped about gas prices. Mr. Dobbs scowled into his chili. Teens argued over the jukebox. But in that corner booth, something shifted. Walter chewed slowly, savoring each bite like a man rediscovering time. Between mouthfuls, he said, "Used to stop here often." Tasha raised an eyebrow. "Back when I was still driving." He nodded, at the window. "East Coast to Texas, sometimes farther." "Trucker?" "After the war." "The war." She didn't ask which one. His face, carved with lines like trenches, said enough. "Vietnam, most likely." "Why'd you stop?" He set down the spoon. "Body quits before the mind does." She nodded. Silence settled between them. Not awkward, but weighted. When he finished, he folded his napkin with military precision and reached for his bag. "How much?" Tasha shook her head. "Already told you. On the house." His jaw tightened. "I don't take handouts." "It's a meal," she said, standing to clear his dishes. Walter remained stubborn. "One day," he vowed. She smiled. "One day." He nodded, then stiffly rose, a man who'd walked too many miles on too little hope. Their eyes met as he left. "Thank you, Miss Reynolds." She hadn't told him her last name. But the bell jingled before she could ask, and he vanished. What she didn't know, that one day would arrive far sooner than either could imagine. The next morning, everything felt ordinary. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky in stripes of orange and pink. Tasha worked the early shift, lowering chairs, refilling syrup dispensers, and brewing coffee strong enough to keep truckers awake for another 100 miles. Walter Gaines barely crossed her mind. People drifted in and out daily. Some lingered. In memory, most faded. He'd been different, sure, but life marched on. By noon, the diner buzzed. Plates clattered. Conversations overlapped. A man at the counter argued with Lou about ketchup on eggs. Tasha reached for the coffee pot when she heard it. Engines. Not one or two, but a growling chorus. At first, a faint tremor rattled the salt shakers. Then, through the diner's smudged windows, she saw them. A convoy. 4 military vehicles rolled into the parking lot. Not ordinary patrol units, but hulking trucks with government insignias and tinted windows. Silence swallowed the diner mid-sentence. Even Lou peered up from his grill. Tasha's stomach tightened. The trucks halted. Doors swung open. Men emerged. Boots, uniforms, combat gear. Officers. A tall man with sharp features and silver hair adjusted his hat and strode inside. The bells. Jingle sounded like a gunshot. His gaze swept the room before landing on Tasha. "Miss Reynolds?" Her throat dried. She hated how her name sounded in his mouth. She forced a nod. "That's me." He removed his hat. The diner held its breath. "Miss Reynolds," he repeated, calm but firm. "Yesterday you fed one of ours." Tasha blinked. "Excuse me?" "Walter Gaines." Her pulse spiked. "I did." The officer glanced at his men. He never shared his story, but we know it. A chill prickled her neck. Outside, the trucks loomed like steel ghosts. Patrons sat frozen, forks midair, cups death-gripped. Tasha crossed her arms. "What's this about?" The officer gestured to a booth. "You should sit." She didn't. Something in his stare knotted her gut. Years of reading people, truckers hopped on caffeine, teens faking adulthood, hadn't prepared her for this. Leaning against the counter, she squared her shoulders. "I'm listening." "Walter Gaines isn't just a veteran, he's a decorated war hero," Tasha frowned. "He didn't seem the type. He wouldn't." The officer's voice softened. "Special forces in Vietnam. His unit was ambushed. In 71, he held off an enemy wave alone, saved a dozen men." She pictured Walter counting crumpled bills, hands trembling. "Silver Star. Bronze Star. 2 Purple Hearts," the officer continued. "Came home to spit, not parades. Disappeared. For decades. Worked odd jobs, lived rough, never asked for help." "How long?" Tasha whispered. "Too long." He bowed his head. "Most forgot his name. But you didn't." She gripped the counter. I gave him soup. You gave him humanity. Outside, the trucks idled. A dozen. Questions collided, but one burned. Why now? The officer hesitated. We lost track of him until yesterday. How? He called us. She froze. Used a payphone after leaving your diner. Dialed a number he hadn't touched in 30 years. The officer's voice dropped. Said he wanted to come home. Walter's cracked boots, his whispered thank you. Suddenly the pieces locked. He didn't tell me, she breathed. Wouldn't, the officer sighed. But he asked to see you. Her eyebrows shot up. Me? Said you're why he called. Her mind reeled. One meal, one conversation. Now she stood in the eye of a storm. She glanced at the patrons. Lou's stalled spatula, then back at the officer. Where is he? He nodded toward the door. Outside. The truth hit her. This wasn't just Walter's story anymore. Tasha hesitated. Her pulse thundered. Military trucks dwarfed the diner, their presence surreal against the humble backdrop. Every eye tracked her. She swallowed. Okay. The officer led her outside. Cold midday air slapped her face. There he sat, Walter Gaines, perched on a truck's tailgate, a woolen army blanket draped over bony shoulders. Up close, the years carved deeper. His face a roadmap of wars seen and unseen. Hands folded, he stared at his lap like a man awaiting judgment. His fingers traced invisible patterns on the blanket. When he noticed them approaching, he straightened. Tasha forced a smile. Didn't think I'd see you again so soon, she said. Walter huffed a dry laugh. Didn't think I'd be seen again. She glanced at the uniformed men flanking the trucks. What's all this? His gaze softened. Made a call. His voice frayed at the edges, as if voicing it made the truth brittle. Told him, I'm ready. Ready for what? The question hung between them. Walter drew a shaky breath. Spent years acting like I didn't need help. Figured if I stayed invisible, I wouldn't burden nobody. But you... He shook his head. You reminded me folks can still care. That maybe there's more than just... waiting to die. Tasha's chest tightened. She'd had no grand plan when she'd fed him, just decency, but sometimes small acts carried weight. Walter glanced at the officer, then back. They're giving me a place, a chance. His Adam's apple bobbed, but I asked him to find you first. Need to ask something. Tasha crossed her arms. Ask. He gripped the blanket's edge. You believe in second chances? She exhaled. Yes. Walter pulled a yellowed envelope from his coat. Then take this. Tasha unfolded the brittle paper. Neat 1972 script addressed to Walter. Gaines stared back. Don't understand, she murmured. Last letter home. His whisper cracked. Wrote it thinking I'd die in Nam. Survived, but couldn't send it. Wasn't the same man who wrote it no more. Why? He stared past her. That man died there. Silence thickened as Tasha skimmed the unread words. Walter leaned forward. If you believe in do-overs, help me send it now. To who? My daughter. The word landed like a gut punch. You have a daughter? Angela Porter. He swallowed. Haven't held her since she was squalling in a hospital blanket. Her mama took her name when I left. Tasha gripped the letter. Why now? Spent years running. His knuckles whitened. Now I'm just tired. She studied. His face calm but hands trembling. This wasn't just paper, it was a lifeline. You sure? Don't know if she'll care. He met her eyes. But I gotta try. Officers lingered at a distance, giving them space. Tasha traced the faded ink. Her name? Angela Porter. Montgomery, Alabama. Back then, anyway. Tasha tucked the letter into her apron. I'll find her. Walter froze. Why? Not about what you deserve. She cut him off. It's her choice. For the first time, his shoulders relaxed. A man setting down 50-year baggage. If she wants nothing to do with me, I'm a diner waitress. Tasha smirked. Yellin', I can take it. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Reckon you can. He clasped her hand. Weak grip, iron resolve. Thank you, Miss Reynolds. The trucks rumbled to life. Walter climbed in, doors sealing him into his second chance. Tasha stood watching until dust swallowed the convoy. The letter burned in her pocket. Later, Tasha sat in her car, engine off. The lot stood empty, no trace of military steel. The envelope's address, Montgomery, 1972. People moved. Angela Porter, 54, now lived in Mobile. Her thumb hovered over the number. What did you say? Hey, Angela, your deadbeat dad's alive. Here's a letter? She dialed. 2 rings. 3. Hello? A woman's voice, guarded. Angela Porter? Who's asking? Tasha Reynolds, I knew your father. Silence, then sharply. My father's dead. He's alive. A shaky breath. Can't be. He is. Gave me this letter for you. More silence. Where are you? Bowling Green, Kentucky. Angela's exhale crackled. I need time. Take it, Tasha said. The line died. Some wounds never healed. But maybe, just maybe, this was a start.